I guess my first question would be, no one ever thought that they would see the day when AJ Styles would be in the WWE as a superstar. So for you, what finally made this jump happen?
I think the jump necessarily was due to timing. Uh, Being in Japan, being away from home was pretty scary. In case something happened, I could just jump on a plane and go right home.
Uh-huh.
That scared me. So it was just literally came down to timing. There were a lot of offers on the table, and I thought, well, I'll contact WWE, make sure there's no money left on the table there as well,
Mm-hmm.
and things just started rolling from there.
Great. And your debut there. Well, I know you debuted there a long time ago in a match. If Wikipedia is right, in a match against Hurricane. But so what was it like, kind of debuting at the Royal Rumble? Basically, just getting thrown to the wolves in front of this huge crowd on a huge pay-per-view, and you basically got to work with the entire company in one day.
It was pretty much like that. But that wasn't my concern. Was being thrown in there with a bunch of guys and getting after it. It was my concern was would anybody know who I was. I mean, because the WWE universe. I mean, it's so large
Yeah.
and they have great product to watch. So it worried me a little bit that I may go out there and only a couple of people know who I am. And so to get the response that I did was unbelievable. And as you can see, I took my time walking to the ring. I didn't rush. I wanted to soak all of that in,
Yeah.
and it was just an unbelievable experience. It really was.
Now I know you've obviously you've wrestled for so long in so many different places. Was that one of the bigger crowds you've wrestled in front of?
Definitely one of the bigger crowds I've ever wrestled in front of. Um, I've had the Tokyo Dome, which is pretty large as well. But being home, and walking out in front of a crowd like that was pretty amazing.
Yeah, it's funny that you said, would people even know who I am, because I'm really only a WWE guy. I've seen TNA and stuff in the past, but I haven't really seen it in a couple years. So the last time I had really seen you, you were very clean, like the clean shaven AJ Styles that was on TNA. So when you came out, I was like, "That's AJ Styles." I was like, "Wow, he's looking a lot different these days." But everybody apparently knew who you were, and everyone was expecting it because once those rumors get out, everybody knows what's gonna come.
Well, I don't know if they. I think hope is more of the word because the rumors got out, but still was nothing confirmed.
Right.
So so those guys who, if they doubted, they could say, "See, I told you he wasn't going to be on the show," or for those who didn't see, they also could say, "I told you he was going to be on the show." So they didn't really know, which I think was a really, really good thing because the anticipation that something crazy could happen, that AJ Styles could come out in Royal Rumble, and the fact that they came out third, I think was a surprise to a lot of people too because they didn't expect it so soon.
Yeah, and not only third, but for what, 28 minutes. So
28 minutes.
you got to put on a good show. Is it exhausting, or you always watch and you notice that everyone's kind of just laying on the floor for like 2 minutes while two guys kind of spotlight for a while and you get your rest. But you seem to have really been a focal point throughout the whole thing. So you must have been exhausted.
Well, I like to be involved, so exhausted. I don't know if that's necessarily I was exhausted. I was relieved after it was over
Yeah.
because all that stress and all that secrecy was now done. I didn't have to worry about that anymore, and so it was a relief for that. And it sounds crazy for Sunday night to be over because now I could say, yes, I am with WWE. I am here. I belong here. I'm a WWE superstar. It felt good to get that out.
Yeah, no, for sure. And you've wrestled for almost every single organization, I feel like, going all the way back to WCW. Which period of your career do you really feel like was your ideal prime, and what is it that keeps you going and makes you keep pushing through?
Well, I'd say I'm in my prime now. Is that, and you don't really get there until, at least I think, until you're in your 30s, because you figured it out. Unless you've had, so you've been wrestling with the top guys for a long time, you really don't get that experience.
Right.
And so I feel like I've really gotten that now, and then I'm able to capitalize on the things that normally I wouldn't. So, I mean, now's a good time as any, but because experience is everything. You can't teach experience. You only have to go out there and get it.
Yeah.
It's just like life. We learn from everything that we've faced in our life, and we know what not to do. And so that all worked for me now. Everything that's happened to me, wherever I've been, has worked to this point now where I get it. This is where I need to be. I belong in the WWE.
Yeah, and again, you start with the Royal Rumble, and then you immediately have to face Chris Jericho, who is a legend. So that must have been really cool to kind of get your first licks in on Monday Night Raw against Jericho.
Yeah, it was awesome. And like you said, Jericho's a legend. And the thing about Jericho that a lot of people have forgotten is that he went the same road that I did. He wrestled in WCW. He wrestled in Japan. He wrestled pretty much everywhere. And then went to the WWE. So our careers are very similar. And to get in the ring with him and have a great match, first time we ever been in the ring together, you know something special is going to happen, especially when you get the opportunity to wrestle him for a third time at Fastlane. So it's exciting.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. And unfortunately, Daniel Bryan had to retire because I could see a good matchup with you and Daniel Bryan. Did you ever run across or wrestle with Bryan anywhere else?
Yeah, several times.
In Ring of Honor?
Several times, and we had great matches. I mean, unbelievable matches. And selfishly, I was hoping that I would get the opportunity to wrestle Daniel Bryan and have one of those classic matches that we had years ago, because I know that we could definitely do that. But, it's unfortunate what had happened, and he handled it better than I handled it.
Yeah.
I was very emotional for him, and but he seemed pretty strong and confident that that everything's going to be okay. He's a class act. There's no doubt about it. Very classy way to retire as well. I can't say enough great things about him.
Yeah, I feel like people kind of forget, just like in all sports, when people just keep getting injured and athletes keep getting hurt, people are disappointed that they're not performing well or that they're spending all their times on the shelf. But really, you guys are doing this to entertain the masses, to entertain people. You kind of really don't. I mean, you obviously you do it for the fans, but you don't really owe the fans, your life. Like if Daniel Bryan keeps going, or a guy like Edge or Stone Cold, who can't wrestle anymore because they could actually die in the ring, they have to hang it up. And some people don't understand that. Oh, they could just do one more match, but these are lives.
Well, the entertainment or not, these guys and myself, we're all taking these huge bumps, and it's year after year, day after day, and it's going to take its toll on you. Sooner or later, it will take its toll on you. Sooner or later, it'll be time for AJ Styles to retire. But until then, until something unexpected happens, I'm going to keep doing what I'm doing. This is you have to listen to your body, and you have to make sure that you protect it and also take care of it. And don't wait till the last second. This is stuff like that it's injuries are going to happen.
Yeah.
Being in pain is just part of the life that we live sometimes because of the lifestyle of job that we have. But if you can take care of it, if you can maintain, and everything will be all right. I mean, it's not easy. When you're on the road as much as we are, it's hard sometimes to get a good night's sleep, and then little stuff like that you need. So you've got to find time. This is the most important thing. You've got to find time to find something that you can wind down and do minor video games. When it's time for me to wind down, I will play video games. It's just a release for me, and get a good night's rest is just super important. So, these things aren't easy for us.
Yeah.
But it's needed, and you got to find time to do it.
Yeah, for sure. All right, so let's talk about some faith. Were you always a Christian, or did you kind of encounter Jesus along the way of your career or your life?
I've been a believer since I was a sophomore in high school.
Okay.
So it's been a while.
Now, do you have any great coming to Jesus story or sort of testimony, or is it pretty straightforward?
I don't know if you guys are familiar with what a judgment house is. Basically, you go to churches during the month of October, and they'll put on basically it's a play, but this play is played by several different people, meaning that we would go to a room, there'd be a play put on, and Joe, the actor, whatever the character is, would be wearing a blue shirt, and then Sarah would wear a pink shirt, and then we'd follow them, but it'd be a different guy in there, but it was Joe because he had a blue shirt, Sarah because she had on a pink shirt.
Right.
And so, anyway, we'd follow them into, something tragic happens, car wreck maybe, and they die. And, Sarah goes to heaven and Joe goes to hell, and you follow them to both places. And after it was over, I knew that I definitely didn't want to go to hell, but it didn't scare me. It wasn't a scare me to Jesus tactic. For me, it wasn't. It was like, hey, this could happen. And for me, I've always knew about Jesus. When I was young, my babysitter was actually the preacher's wife, so I always had this instilled. And my parents took me to, church, and not as much as we'd like, I'm sure, but I knew. I knew about Jesus, and when it came down to make a decision, I was ready, and that I didn't want to see hell. And I remember them saying, if anybody wants to give their life to Jesus, all you have to do is raise your hand. We all had our eyes closed, and I was amongst friends, and I thought, well, everybody's probably pretty much going to raise their hand, and they didn't. I was the only one. But that night I accepted Jesus, and my life started changing, because I believe that despite how I was looking at things, he said, well, you asked me to save you, so I'm going to do that. So the breakup with a girlfriend went terrible, as bad as it possibly could go, and then other things just got weird, to the point where I finally asked a girl out, and she told me to come to church with her. I met a guy in the youth group. He was a youth pastor, and showed me how to be a Christian man, and I haven't been the same. I could go into a lot more detail, but that'd take a long time.
No, that's cool, man. And as you started explaining what that play is, now I know exactly what you're talking about, because I've seen one before, probably when I was in youth group back in the day, and they have like a prop totaled car, and they follow people around. Yep, I've been there, man.
Yeah, I mean, as a high schooler, it definitely made me think. I mean, it was pretty real, Going to that church, they had all the heaters going in hell, so you're like, wow, it's really hot down here. It's scary, it's dark. Which is, sheesh, if we only knew, right?
Right. Now, do you find it tough to be a Christian in wrestling, and is there a lot of temptation and a lot of things that could pull you in the wrong direction, or do you find it relatively easy or the same?
No, I mean, it's no different than, is it hard to be a Christian, and, doing a regular job?
Right.
There are some things that may be a little bit harder because, they're attractive women, but you can't forget who you are and what you have. For me, it's I love my wife, I love my kids, and at the end of the day, is it really worth it, to, live with that guilt and stuff like that? So, I think it's hard on everyday life to be a Christian. People are hounding you and stuff like that. And, we all go through the same thing every day. Despite, it doesn't matter how good of a man you are, there's always going to be those temptations, especially when you've been away from home for a long time and you just want somebody to, to hold you, really.
Right.
But, you just can't forget where you come from.
Now, have you, along the way, ever been put in, like, an uncomfortable storyline, or maybe tried to compromise or shape a storyline differently because you felt that it compromised your beliefs?
I don't think anybody's ever put me in something that I was, without thinking, like, and had they asked me to do something, I would just say, I can't do it. I've always looked at it and go, okay, how is this story going to end up? That's what's important, because at the end, that's what's, the story, the finish, whatever, that's important to me. If this guy goes down the wrong track and then finally he sees a light at the end, well, then that's a great story, and it's meaningful, and I think that's important. I think, I've never been put in a situation where I had to say, I'm not doing that. They've always been conscious of who I am and what I represent.
Great. All right, so here's your chance to really show off your hip hop knowledge. I don't know how often you read Rapzilla, but they can be brutal in the comments. So you really have to bring your knowledge, because you already told me that you could school people. So you really have to bring it. But
I'm telling you, listen, my wife, my girlfriend at the time, got me the tape. It was DJ Dove back in the day.
Okay.
This is like 98, maybe 97, around there. Got me DJ Dove, and then I went to, I believe it was called, at the time it was called Celebration, this little bitty Christian bookstore, but they also had, the music there. So I went there and I found Little Rascal, Antonius.
Oh, wow.
a lot of guys like that. Basically the Great Tree record label. I don't know if you're familiar with that.
Yeah.
But,
Little Rascal.
That's all I had back then. And then it got, a little bit bigger, as K2S turned out to be one of my favorite rap groups. Just their lyrics just hit me hard, man. Like, I just enjoyed it. I probably got CDs after CDs that, even if I didn't like that, the CD that much, I'd still get it because where else was I going to get to hear this music? Rap music, Christian rap music. You can't find it anywhere. And that's what I told as my wife said, as we got older and, money was tight, she was like, why don't you go out and you get these CDs? We don't have the money for it. I was like, well, where else am I going to hear it? And so, yeah, it was a lot of that. LGYs was another favorite of mine. So there's a couple that, the Great Tree was definitely a big deal to me. I just kind of, looked at it. If they had that label on it, I'd probably get the DVD or the CD to listen to. And then that's, obviously things started progressing in the hip hop, rap, and all that stuff.
Oh yeah, it's huge now.
Yeah, it was huge. I remember listening to Grits, and then I met them at Universal Studios, and we started talking, and they were able to do my music before. So, like,
yeah, I was going to ask
you. I become good friends with the guys. At least Grits, which they're out of Tennessee.
Yeah,
and we still keep in touch to this very day. So, dude, I love it. I always have. T-Bone is another guy.
Oh, I love T-Bone.
I've made people listen to this guy because he would just tear it up.
He's ridiculous.
And then, of course, as of today, that the 116, holy cow, all of those guys, Triple E, Lecrae, those guys are tearing it up. Tadashi. it's amazing to hear these guys. It's like, for me, hearing that all those guys like from 116 that it reminds me of Great Tree, which was 15, 20 years ago.
Now, would you ever want or be interested in, like, if one of these guys approached you, like a Tadashi or a Lecrae, Andy Mineo, one of them, about doing a theme song, would that be something that you'd immediately say yes to?
Well, it isn't about me saying yes anymore. I would love it.
It's true.
But I mean, when you got an interest song that has been in the top 200 on iTunes, you can't really say too much about that. But I love those guys, so obviously I would love for them to do something for me. But that isn't up to me anymore. But shoot, man. I mean, I can't tell you how much I enjoy their music. So I make the kids listen to it, whether they want to or not. I have a brother-in-law. Him and I just talk about all these different bands. And I don't know what happened, but I would go to the Rapzilla all the time and find music there. And put them on there. I literally got on there and would just listen to random songs that you guys would say, hey, check out these guys, and I would listen to them. Oh, I'm getting this one. Like I did a lot of that. I found a lot of music through there, and was able to talk about it. And because of that app, it was easy for me because I'm on the road. I just play it and figure out a couple songs.
Speaking of Grits, they dropped a new song yesterday.
Oh man, I loved it. I loved it. It's so different.
Oh, you heard it? Yeah, we wrote about it.
Yeah. It's just it's different. All of the stuff is like you guys had said that they kind of dropped that southern style of hip hop they went with, and they just went with something totally different. And I liked it. Different's good.
Oh, and how old school did you go with your rap listening? I know you said you listened to T-Bone. Did you go back to like DC Talk and Toby Mac?
Oh sure, come on. DC Talk was the first hip hop group ever, right? Like a Christian hip hop group. They were on MTV,
Yeah.
So yeah, they're the ones that started it. To be honest with you.
They brought it to the forefront of the Christian contemporary music. They made it cool, basically. Yep. They were the Fresh Prince of Christian hip hop.
Yes, you're right. That's pretty good.
Yeah.
That's a good comparison.
All right, here's a fun question. If you could train any of these rap MCs on how to wrestle, who do you think has the most potential in the ring?
Wow. Well, that's hard because you don't know who you're looking at, so you don't know who are the athletes, and that's very hard. Do I get them in their prime? Does that mean that I would definitely have K2S as my tag team in there?
I'd want Tadashi. I feel like Tadashi could wrestle
Samoan,
Big
right?
Show.
So
yeah.
Samoans are usually big and athletic.
Right. I've met Tadashi. He's a big dude.
Yeah. But you know what? So is Lecrae. He's not small either.
Lecrae's tall.
I played him on the basketball team. He's probably dunking anyway. So there's a couple out there, but you're not sure, But Tadashi is a big dude. I think you're right. Let's go with him, and being Samoan, he's going to be an athlete already anyway.
He might be related to some of the guys in the company too, because they all are. It seems to be. Here's a couple fast questions. Some people asked me some questions on Facebook that I said I would pick some of the good ones, but here's three that I like. Who are your, and I'm sure you've been asked this a million times, but who are your top 3 wrestlers of all time?
So many good wrestlers. Oh man. And I like wrestlers for different reasons, not exactly because everyone else liked them.
Yeah.
The Road Warriors were the Legion of Doom. They were definitely up there as one of my favorites. They're just big, strong, and wore face paint. I loved it.
Mm-hmm.
Sting would be another one. This guy wore. I liked him more as the Crow Sting.
Right.
With the black, white face paint. I just love it. Plus, I love that movie, so he was over with me. Anyway, and Eddie Guerrero. I just really liked the way that guy wrestled.
Yeah.
Think about the way he flowed in the ring, and looked up to him. The guy's about my size, so it makes sense.
Yeah.
But I guess that'd be my top three, but that's really four. But hopefully we can count the tag team as one.
Yeah, I'll allow it. It's fine. What are your the top 3 matches that you ever watched? That you watched these matches and you were like, this is the most incredible thing I've ever seen.
Oh my gosh. Oh. It seems like every time I do watch one of a match like that, I'm like, no, this one is. No, oh God, this one is. There's always something better. The ladder match between Edge and Christian was pretty unbelievable.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see. I remember watching Rob Van Dam and Jerry Lee on ECW, thinking that was pretty unbelievable as well. What would be the last one? I was like, just lost my mind. That's a hard one.
I know.
There's so many, and to pick that last one. How about this?
Go ahead.
How about Undertaker, Mankind?
Oh, well, yeah. That's incredible.
Yeah, the cage match.
I can't believe he's actually alive after that match.
Yeah, exactly. They're just, what? They're crazy.
I know for me it has to be one of the Shawn Michaels Undertaker matches. One of the two. I don't know. They're both phenomenal. All right.
Throw me a nickel.
Sorry. I know. All right. Now this is for you. Kind of. What is your dream fantasy match? What's the scenario? The stipulation? What's on the line? Who's in it? What's going on? Everything.
See, I've been asked that before.
Oh, okay.
And I always say that's not for me. That question's not for me. That question is for the fans. They're the ones that get to decide what they want to see, or they're the ones who come up with these dream matches and what they want out of it. Because that's what's most important is the fans. And despite what I would want, I want what they want because I want to deliver what they want to see. I'm an entertainer. I want to get in there and I want to entertain them. So we'd have to ask. I think the biggest AJ Styles fan that question.
All right, fine. I'll switch that out for.
Accept that one?
I'll switch that question out for somebody just asked me. Which of these men would you want to have a WrestleMania match with from the Attitude Era? The Rock, Stone Cold, Triple H, or Undertaker? This is all Attitude Era.
Wow.
Guys, you have to pick one.
Wow. Jeez. What a hard question, right? Because all of them are so different.
Yeah.
It's like, you're getting in there with Stone Cold Steve Austin, the rattlesnake, right? And then this unbelievable entertainer known as The Rock, and then you got the Undertaker. We had a fourth one. Who was the fourth one?
Triple H.
And of course, this guy, right? Gosh. How do you pick something like that?
I don't know.
How about Shawn Michaels? Can I do that one?
You could do Shawn Michaels. I feel like he's more your style anyway.
Yeah, I think that him and I have a very similar style. Very similar. And I got to tell you, some of the stuff that I do is, conscious of, what Shawn Michaels did, this will work, because Shawn did it, So there's a lot of things would it be all right if I threw Shawn Michaels in there? I know that.
This one I will allow. This one is okay.
All right.
All right. Here's a stupid question, but you might like it because it's kind of funny. Any plans for a triple threat match with AJ Lee and Joey Styles for name rights?
Well, I don't think we're going to be able to pull that off. AJ Lee is a woman, and we know we don't do intergender wrestling. That's not going to happen. And Joey Styles, he's a commentator, so he doesn't even wrestle.
So it's definitely not going to happen. And
yeah, it's never going to happen.
While on AJ Lee, have you ever wrestled CM Punk anywhere else?
Yeah, I wrestled him definitely a lot of times actually.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's cool.
Kind of falls. You know, there was a group of us that came up through the rankings and it went through WWE that we all wrestled each other, and when I say Daniel Bryan, he was part of that group.
Yeah. All right. Awesome. And I guess my final question to you would be: do you have anything else you want to add or plug or talk about or say? Let the fans know. Now, I'm sure wrestling fans are going to get a hold of this, but most of them will probably be Rapzilla people. So I think you did show off your hip hop knowledge very well. Very.
I can go deeper. I just thought with timing purposes.
No, this is good.
But,
This it opens up. It opens up that we can have a conversation another time about more things.
There you go. There you go. It's the same thing that I say that about pretty much every interview that I do is that I'm nothing without the fans, and without them, I don't know where I'd be right now. So I just appreciate them. I appreciate having fans and being able to entertain them, and I will always do it to the best of my abilities.
All right. Well, there it is. Thank you.
That's it, brother.
Thank you so much, AJ. I'll shoot you a text message when these go up. I'll probably cut them into 2 separate articles. We have a lot of good stuff here. And yeah, man, God bless. Keep doing what you're doing. Stay safe out there. And I guess for my own plug, keep reading Rapzilla.
You know
It's cool, man.
Appreciate it.
All right. Thanks a lot.